Jadov is back at it here to give everyone another Game of Thrones Season 1 episode reaction video. But before I continue with that, it's extremely important, especially for this episode, if you're not caught up to the point where I am in watching or rewatching Game of Thrones, or you're just not sure, then you should probably take the initiative and pay attention to this episode title, which of course I'll put in the description for you because I'm a nice guy. If that's the case, you find out that you're not caught up, I would highly suggest that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers, and there's major spoilers ahead. This is going to be Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode number 9. Title of this episode is called Baelor. This is going to be my reaction, review, recap of the episode. If you're not familiar with it yet, I'm going to tell you, Game of Thrones typically has crazy episodes on the 9th episode of the season, if it's a 10-episode season. This starts that trend. And I'm not necessarily going to go in order here. It's kind of easier to break it down place by place, just so you're aware. Some of it's in order, but not all of it. The Stark army actually reaches the Twins, which is a bridge stronghold controlled by Walder Frey. And Walder Frey agrees to allow the army to cross the river and commit his troops in return for Robb and Arya Stark marrying two of his many, many children. This guy gets married like every month. Tyrion Lannister suspects his father, Tywin, who decides Tyrion and his barbarians will fight in the vanguard, which is essentially the front line, wants him killed. Duh, he doesn't give a shit about him because he's a dwarf. As Tyrion, Bronn, and a prostitute or a whore named Shay swap stories, Tyrion reveals he was actually married when he was 16 to a woman that he didn't realize at the time, but Jaime Lannister had set up for him to get with. There was a story behind it. They got it on. This was Tyrion's first time getting it on, and then he asked her to marry him, and then he finds out that that was made by Tywin and Jaime to a certain degree, and he wasn't happy about it. And then to embarrass Tyrion even further, they have this whore bang a bunch of, or have sex with a bunch of guardsmen. So pretty sad moment. He does end up sleeping with this Shay whore, I guess you want to call her, but she seems pretty cool, and she seems, at least at the moment, to genuinely like Tyrion, even though she's going to get paid pretty well. So as Robb Stark's forces approach, Tyrion, who just woke up from a long night with Shay, if they even slept, who knows, he's actually trampled in the rush and regains consciousness to find out the battle's over. Tywin discovers that Robb Stark's host was only 2,000 troop men and not the 20,000 he was led to expect. Robb, having divided his forces, defeats Jaime Lannister's army with his remaining 18,000 men and captures Jaime. So he sent 2,000 to go after Tywin to keep him busy, and then he took the 18,000 to where Jaime Lannister was and went after Jaime, and they weren't expecting that. The older Mormont gives Jon Snow his ancestral Valyrian steel sword called Longclaw, and Jon is actually upset he cannot join Robb in the battle against the Lannisters. Maester Aemon, the really old guy that I think is blind, reveals to Jon that he is Aemon Targaryen, the Mad King Aerys' uncle and Daenerys Targaryen's great uncle, and advises Jon that the choice he must make between the Night's Watch and his family will haunt him for the rest of his life. Khal Drogo is weakened by his infected wound. He actually falls off his horse. He's just completely out of it. And Jorah warns that if Drogo dies, his blood riders will fight to be his successor and couldn't kill Daenerys and her unborn child. Now, Daenerys refuses to abandon her husband and encourages Mirri Mazdur to use her blood magic because she's a witch. Now, she prepares a spell, kills his horse, lets the blood from his horse go on top of Khal Drogo and gets some on Daenerys, and gives a warning that no man may enter the tent once this starts. And then Jorah, he ends up killing Quattro when he tries to intervene. And then Daenerys goes into premature labor, but the Dothraki midwives refuse to help, Despite that, Drora carries Daenerys into Drogo's tent to seek Miri's help. Wonder what's going to happen there. That should be interesting. As Lord Varys tells Ned Stark, Sansa Stark's life is also at stake. Ned agrees to make a false confession and swear loyalty to King Joffrey Baratheon, and that's what happened at the beginning of the episode. And then Arya Stark finds a crowd gathering to watch her father be judged, and climbs onto the statue of Baelor the Blessed. Ned notices Arya and alerts Night's Watch recruiter Euron, and then before Sansa, Cersei, Joffrey, and the small council, or before all those people, Ned does confess to treason and swears loyalty to Joffrey, which he didn't do anything that he said he did. He just did it to make everything right. But instead of sparing Ned as promised, Joffrey, the little bastard that he is, orders him to be executed, off with his head. Seeing that Arya has been rescued by Euron, Ned accepts his fate and is beheaded. Now, we don't actually see that in this episode, but we see the remnants, I believe, in the next episode. But what a crazy moment. Now, when I first watched Game of Thrones, I knew this happened. I pretty much knew a lot of things that happened in Game of Thrones. I started watching the show live on season 7, and I pretty much knew everything, but the magnitude of the things that happened were still crazy. And I do like Sean Bean as an actor. I think he did a good job as Ned Stark. He's actually in 2 of my top, we'll say 20, might be top 10 favorite movies of all time, which are The Martian and National Treasure. And he did a good job, but his role in the show was short-lived. I guess that was the plan from the get-go. Sucks, but this is what makes Game of Thrones what Game of Thrones is. So I'm going to give the episode a 9.2 out of 10. Really good stuff. Unfortunately for Ned, I can't give him the character of the episode because he really wasn't in it long. He was at the beginning and he was at the end. But Tyrion was awesome in this. He had his drinking game. He gave a lot of information about himself. He was going to fight in the battle, in the Vanguard, but got knocked out, concussed probably. So Tyrion is going to be the character of the episode. And now you've heard what I have to say. It's your turn. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, even if you don't like Season 8 or Season 7, which I like them for the most part, please smash that like button. If anybody you know would be interested in this, go ahead and share the video with them. Don't forget to leave me comments about your thoughts on the episode or your score of the episode, or we can talk about anything Game of Thrones related if you want. I assume you're watching this video, you've already seen the whole entire series. And if you haven't, well, now you know. And of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.